Hey everyone, so if you haven't heard the news already about Lugia week coming up, Lugia will be getting its signature move Aeroblast, and at the moment the data says that it's going to be a really great move. In fact, it's going to be the most energy efficient move, and it also has a chance for attack buff as well. Aeroblast is so good that it actually does more damage to a steel type like Melmetal than Hydro Pump would, even though Aeroblast would be resisted whereas Hydro Pump is neutral. So if these stats don't change by the time Lugia is released, in my opinion, I think it's going to be one of the best Pokemon in Open Master League. Prior to this announcement, I've actually been trying to make Lugia work in Open Master League this season, and overall the results are pretty positive. Now, I usually save this part for the end of the video, but I just want to give a special thank you to all my patrons who have been supporting my content creation, and for those that are looking to get access to my lines ahead of time, if you sign up for the Meta Breaker tier, you get access to my lines right when I come up with them, and this will be for any league as well as special events like Halloween Cup and Flying Cup. So the team that I used was Lugia lead with Dialga and Melmetal on the back. For the IV Summon Pokemon, I'm running a 98% Lugia and a 98% Dialga. Dialga is best buddied, and my Melmetal is 100%. For both Dialga and Lugia, I believe they're both 15, 15, 14s, so they work pretty well hitting all the break points at both points. I haven't looked into every matchup, but for Lugia, you definitely want at least a 15 attack because there is a pretty crucial break point against Kyogre. But yeah, just in general, you definitely want as close to 100% or 100% if possible. So obviously, these battles are pre-Aeroblast, so I am running Hydro Pump on Lugia, but just imagine how good it would be if it has Aeroblast in these. Okay, so getting into the matches, kind of like my Tyranitar video, I'm going to show both the lead as well as the backline, just because lead Pokemon say something, but the backline is actually very crucial in Master League in terms of how you play it out. Alright, so what I do here is whenever I see a Dialga lead, I just safe swap to my own Dialga just because Melmetal is my best counter to it. And this will draw any potential ground types like Groudon, Rhyperior, stuff like that, things that Melmetal would be weak to. And Lugia is an absolute wall to Groudon. There's probably only a few things that wall this hard. Dragonite would be another one of them, but Lugia is very strong against it. Alright, so they come back with their own Dialga, and then I'm going to come in with my Melmetal and just throw rock slides. So ideally what you do is you charge up until they get to an right before they get to an earthquake, and you throw your move on Dialga. And so hopefully you can force a shield, maybe making them think it's Draco Meteor, or they just want to shield the Iron Head. That will put you at a shield advantage even after losing swap, and you can farm down with Lugia. My opponent actually plays really smart and does not shield. So now we're on even shields, but this Melmetal is actually pretty good at keeping pace with this Mewtwo right here. So I'm just going to throw this Rock Slide, and then I think I'll probably just swap to my Lugia soon. Oh, no, I take it out. Yep. And so this puts me in a really good spot because now I could just take it out with this superpower. So Lugia didn't really even need to do too much in this scenario, but yeah, still sets it up pretty well because even though it's a losing matchup up front. I will say that the majority of your matches, you're probably losing the lead, and that's totally fine actually because Lugia can outbulk a lot of things in the end game, and then also having that Dialga safe swap can really force a lot of shields from opponents. So unfortunately, I kind of make a misplay right here, and I want to throw the Iron Head before having to spend my shield. But unfortunately, I have to spend the shields now, so I'm down 2 shields. But this will probably force out another shield from my opponent. They actually don't shield, so very interesting. So at this point, I'm just going to keep Dragon Breathing with my Dialga, and then throw an Iron Head, and then they just farm up a bunch of energy here. So a Blizzard is definitely going to hurt. Thunder's not too bad, but let's see how bulky this Lugia is. So it still tanks a Blizzard, pretty wild. Even though super effective damage and Blizzard got a buff recently, it's just Lugia is just one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the league. In fact, if you look at stat product against all Pokemon in Master League, Lugia has more stat product than anything in pretty much out of all the Pokemon out there. That's not including Megas. Of course, if with Megas, I think there might be a few things that might outbulk Lugia, but I'm not even too sure about that. But yeah, nothing even comes close. I think Slacking is the only Pokemon that comes close in stat product, and it's got a terrible fast move, so it's not even relevant. Okay, so this is actually a really tough matchup with Conkeldurr counter swap. Luckily, you don't really see too many of these. In fact, I think this is the only opponent I went into that had Conkeldurr. And the main reason is because these stone edges actually hurt a lot. Conkeldurr hits pretty hard, and it's actually fairly bulky too, so it's hard to kind of farm down with Dragon Tails. But yeah, I do farm it down after that. Unfortunately though, because I do have to save a shield, or I have to spend a shield, and I'm going to swap straight to my Melmetal. The reason why I throw the Sky Attacks is because you kind of have to assume that if they have switch advantage, they're going to swap out anyway. So you might as well do some chip damage with Lugia first, because there's a good chance that Lugia is going to be matched up with Dialga later on anyway. So you don't want to be capped at energy if you have to farm down the next Pokemon like Mewtwo, right? So I do get baited with a Side Strike right there, a little bit unfortunate. But luckily they only have Shadow Ball, so they can't one-shot me with with Focus Blast. This is probably a slight misplay by me though. So what I didn't really realize is that my Lugia was so low that I can't really force even if I force a shield from this Dialga, it's going to win CMP against my Melmetal, and now they're going to just hit me with the Draco Meteor or Thunder. So what I probably should have done is just taken out the Mewtwo with Melmetal instead, or force a shield there. So yeah, really well played by my opponent. Conkeldurr's counter swap is definitely quite tough, but I think there was a slight win condition if I played it out a little better. So in this scenario, I'm just going to shield and see what happens here. What I should have done, just thrown the Iron Head right away, because I shouldn't take all that extra Dragon Breath damage. But my opponent actually shields. So in these scenarios, what I'm thinking is probably Dialga is their best counter, and they have two kind of steel counters slash Groudon counters in the back. And so this actually is a very tough matchup. So it is Kyogre and Giratina in the back. What I should have done actually with that Melmetal is throw a superpower before dishing, because it does quite a bit of damage and I don't have to worry about debuff once I swap out. Instead, I end up just staying in here. I do end up shielding the Blizzard, which ends up being very good for me, because yeah, there's a lot of energy that Kyogre kind of wasted. So these Shadow Sneaks, even though they're super effective, do not hurt Lugia that much, just because it is, again, very, very bulky. And I think in most situations, if I'm going against the Giratina Altered, I'd rather save the shield for my Melmetal than Lugia, if you could believe that. But yeah, so in this situation, it is not a clean victory for Melmetal. It's kind of a tough one, but I am able to get to this Rock Slide before they get to a Surf here, which puts me in a very good spot. And then just one Rock Slide should do it here. I might get taken out if it's not Dragon Claw. Yeah, oh, it's very close, but luckily my Lugia was close to Sky Attack, and I'm able to finish it off here. Something to note as well, if you look at the elo, is most of these battles were from the high 2800s to 2900s. My goal really this season was trying to hit rank 10 with Lugia, with a Lugia team in Open Master League. I unfortunately came a little bit short on that. I went around 2980 something to 2970 something a couple times, but I just could not really clutch out that last set. Either way though, these aren't, this isn't just a kind of meme team. It actually worked out really well against a lot of top battlers. Alright, so unfortunately I get double baited by Side Strikes there. Towards the end I kind of had the shield. I'm going to potentially try to force out this last shield from my opponent by dropping a Draco Meteor. They smartly decided to shield. And then I'm going to come in with my Melmetal, and then Garchomp is kind of interesting. So they throw an Outrage, which hurts a lot, but not a lot could tank an Outrage like that when it's doing neutral damage. And Lugia can tank Outrage surprisingly well right here. So what I'm scared of right here is taking out the Garchomp and then getting farmed down by Dialga. So what I'm going to do right there is I purposely let my Melmetal, or purposely let my Lugia go, even though I had almost 2 Sky Attacks. And then now I have the arsenal to handle Dialga right here. And so as you can see, they do get to Draco Meteor still, so maybe it doesn't really matter too much, to be honest. But yeah, now I'm going to finish off the Garchomp. So again, against ground types, I use Mud Shot or Mud Slap as damage. Lugia resists it really well because it's flying typing and also just how bulky it is. Again, against Dialga Leaves, which you're going to see plenty of, so I want to kind of show up all the different matchups. They end up swapping in a Mewtwo right here. Probably thinking, there's they want to get rid of this Mewtwo in case they have to match up with against Lugia. So beyond just being a wall to Groudon, Lugia is a complete wall to Mewtwo if it's running Side Strike and Focus Blast. If it's running Shadow Ball, unfortunately, it actually does quite a bit of damage. I think this trainer I faced a couple of times, and I think I was only able to beat them once out of like our 5 battles, just because we kind of both knew each other's teams by now. And Shadow Ball Mewtwo does give this team a little bit of trouble for Lugia specifically, because you can't really just farm down. All right, and then so unfortunately with the Kyogre counter right here, it's actually very tough to play this out. So this is a losing matchup for Melmetal in most situations. Let's see what I do here. I do try to get to the rock side. The problem is if my opponent double up here, I'm kind of in a bad spot. So let's see what they do. Yep, they do shield, and then they have enough energy for the next one. So my Lugia is already kind of low from the after getting hit by that Shadow Ball, and unfortunately just not enough to take out the Dialga. All right, Groudon lead, amazing lead to see. Out of every Groudon lead I've seen, I think I've only lost. No, I don't think I've ever lost a matchup. I think I've only tied once, and that was the worst I've ever done against a Groudon lead. So that really says something in terms of this specific matchup. And you know, if you can automatically win almost every Groudon lead, that's pretty good in my opinion, right off the bat. All right, so what I do is I always bring out Melmetal because Melmetal is very weak to Groudon, and I can just completely get rid of it, so I don't have to worry about it. Lugia can just farm Groudon. You don't want to farm too much because eventually the Fire Punches add up, but look how little Fire Punch does right there. So my opponent actually does bring in Togekiss here, which is not a great spot to be in, just because if they double shield, they win this matchup, even if I shield once. But I'm aware of that, so I know that if I shield once, I'll be able to get to another Iron Head. As long as they don't get a boost, right? So I do get to this last Iron Head, and I should be able to force out that last shield from Togekiss. Makes sense from their end because they definitely don't want that Groudon matched up against my Lugia. I'm going to shield their attack just because it's going to do more damage than the Fire Punches. And so I go straight Sky Attack right here. With Aeroblast, you'll be able to one-shot this. Hydro Pump at that range probably could as well, so that might have been another option, but I decided to just go straight Sky Attack right there. And then here, these Fire Punches are going to add up, but I'm just going to go straight for the Hydro Pump right here and take out the Groudon. Obviously, with Aeroblast, this will be plenty as well. Aeroblast is the same amount of energy as Hydro Pump at the moment, so it'll do just as well. Yeah, so another Groudon lead. Again, you just want to stay in here. They swap to Giratina. Very easy matchup right here. You just lock it in. There's a lot of matchups I'm showing in this video that are kind of closer matchups than you expect. I try to keep the more exciting ones for this, but there are some that are just very straightforward, nothing the opponent can really do. So because they shield, I'm going to Master Shield. You don't have to shield the first Shadow Ball, but if they shield your Iron Head, then you can shield their Omniswin and just ensure you win switch. They come out with their Dialga actually, which works out perfectly for me, just because I sell my Melmetal, and then I'm going to come in with my Lugia, just, you know, take out this Groudon. I don't even need to farm too much because I have a Melmetal back, so I think I'm going to go straight Hydro Pump right here. If they shield, great. If they don't shield, no biggie. So let's see if they shield or not here. Yeah, they don't shield. It makes sense. If they do shield, I could get to another Hydro Pump in time. So they're going to concede the match right there. Kyogre lead. Kyogre lead is actually very, very good for Lugia as well. Most stay in, but Kyogre is probably their main counter to Melmetal in the back. So what I do, and this is actually a very popular line, is Kyogre with Dialga and Togekiss. And so here's the thing. Lugia only loses this matchup if they go straight Blizzard. If they go straight Blizzard, there's no need to shield anyway. Just farm down with Dialga and you'll be fine. You have an energy lead. Most of their threat to Melmetal's gone. If they go straight Surf, you should be able to win by one fast move. It depends on if you're sneaking in extra fast moves versus your opponent sneaking in extra fast moves. If they go straight Thunder, you should completely tie at the end. Regardless, I always come with Melmetal because I have the chance to throw moves and debuff myself and then swap out. If you bring in Dialga and then you have to swap Melmetal back in, then it kind of puts you in a tough spot. Alright, so this is a very popular line. I'm not sure if someone made a video on it or something, but for the past 2-3 seasons I've seen it. It's Kyogre with Dialga and Togekiss. It's a very balanced line, but against this line, it's very tough to win, just because they pretty much are destroyed by Melmetal on the back. And most people running Kyogre into Lugia aren't going to swap out. Even if they do swap out, you can match up the matchups there too. Alright, so Togekiss lead, what do you do? Against Togekiss, you actually can beat it with Lugia in certain situations on what moves you throw and what moves they shield. But I personally like to just swap out because Melmetal is your best counter to it. Almost every Togekiss is going to shield because they have to shield to win the matchup against Dialga. So what that means is I come in with my Melmetal afterward, which has a much better matchup. I'll have a shield advantage, I'll be able to farm it a little extra. If they swap out, I get switch advantage too, right? So these are very good scenarios to be in. My opponent actually shield, so now I'm up 2 shields to 0. And then I do shield this first move. It ends up being Thunder, so it works out pretty well. I'm just going to farm a bunch of energy. I let the second one go, anticipating an Iron Head, yep. And so, as you can see, Lugia tanks these moves really, really well. I probably could have thrown a Hydro Pump right there. That might have been able to one-shot. But I just go for the double Sky Attack instead. Also works out pretty well. And let's just see what they have in the back here. Well, obviously we know because of the graphic. But so it's going to be a Giratina Altered, which is generally a okay counter to Melmetal. But with the shield advantage and some chip damage from Lugia, this should be plenty. Alright, so I'm going to just keep spamming Rock Slides. It's kind of a close-ish matchup because the Shadow Sneaks are neutral and Giratina Altered is very bulky. And they are resisting the Thunderbolts, Thunder Shocks too. Alright, so just keep on throwing. The main thing you have to worry about here is a potential sack swap. So that's kind of what I'm watching out for. But at this point, kind of the health on both Pokemon are very low. Yeah, and then I just finish it off with Lugia right there, just in case they go for a sack, and then I throw the Superpower. Alright, again, Togekiss lead. I always just safe swap Dialga. I've tried staying in before, and I just don't really like it because if they have like a Groudon on the back, it could be kind of tough. So this is actually a very tough line to play into. It's Togekiss with Melmetal and Groudon. What this means is they have 3 counters to Dialga, which makes this Dialga very hard to use. So they don't shield, which works out pretty well because I'm not going to shield here either, because my biggest threat to Lugia is Melmetal at this point, just in general as well. So I come with my own Melmetal, don't shield the superpowers just because it's already debuffed, so it's not going to do nearly as much damage. In comes a Groudon. So I'm going to throw the superpower again, kind of like what I said earlier. If you don't have switch advantage, you should assume that in some way or form, this Pokemon is going to match up with their Pokemon when they counter swap you anyway, right? So you want to dump the energy, especially with a debuff move like that. Dump the energy now, and then come back, reset the debuffs, and then go back in. I throw Sky Attacks right here just because I assume they probably want to shield because they don't want this Groudon matched up against this Lugia. I could have potentially just gone for a Hydro Pump right there, but I just decided to go straight Sky Attacks right here, and that's fine too because now I have a little energy to farm with Melmetal, and they go straight for the Earthquake actually. Which is very unexpected because I have 2 shields. But, you know, could be a great move if I don't shield right there. So it works out pretty well because I was able to shield this, the Earthquake, and I have 2 superpowers built up again. If I didn't throw that energy earlier, I'll just have excess energy that I can't really use unless I'm like super debuffed. Alright, and then I'm going to come in with Lugia right here, and then I think they try to sack their Togekiss, but had a little too low health, you know, so they would take it out. Again, the Dialga safe swap will bring out some counters like Melmetal or Groudon. Groudon is ideal. So let's see if this is able to bring out the Groudon or not. It looks like they're staying in, just trying to take out my Dialga. I don't mind going down a shield, or losing the match but going up a shield. So in this scenario, I wait out the switch clock as long as possible, bring in my Melmetal. You can farm up to almost a Rock Slide and a half, so that's usually what I do if they throw the charge move, just so that you don't have to worry about a Flamethrower coming through, or even a bait for a Flamethrower. Alright, so they come in with Groudon right here. Again, throw your energy first and then swap out. I probably could have thrown the second one too, but I just decided to swap out as soon as possible. And here comes Lugia. So Lugia against Dialga is actually a winning matchup if you have a shield advantage, with just straight Sky Attack. So it's kind of unexpected because you're thinking, oh, you're going to resist all the the flying moves, it's not going to be a big deal. But I'm going to shield this Iron Head right here, and then I quickly go in with my Melmetal. This looks like a Fire Punch, so I'm just going to, oh, I guess I still shield it. Not really sure why I did that. Maybe if I take out this, if I take out this Garchomp or Groudon, it should be okay. It's actually not the best play by me. I think I should have tanked the first one and shielded the second one, obviously, after the debuff. So, unfortunately, I'm quite low. By this point, I charge up to 2 Sky Attacks. It's kind of a Hail Mary play right here. I have 1 HP left, able to get to 2 Sky Attacks. Ridiculously bulky from Lugia. So a misplay by me on the Melmetal with the shield right there, but ended up working out pretty well just because of how bulky Lugia is. Yeah, so if you're not convinced, hopefully this video convinces you how strong Lugia can be in Open Master League, even with all the steals around, right? There's plenty of steals, plenty of ghost types too, stuff like that. All right, so again, pretty straightforward. I think my opponent might have undercharged that Ancient Power, which is actually kind of a smart play by them. They actually counter swap with Mewtwo right here. So you definitely want to keep track of their energy, how much they're throwing. So I was counting their energy to make sure it wasn't a Focus Blast, but it was, so that's why I decided to shield. And then now I know it's Side Strike and Focus Blast. Again, this is a wall to Mewtwo, and not much walls Mewtwo in Master League that runs Focus Blast and Side Strike. But Lugia definitely has a wall to it. So I'm going to go straight for the Hydro Pump right here. It's going to do quite a bit of damage. And then even though it doesn't take it out, I should be able to farm extra energy off of this. And then I do sack my Melmetal to catch the Ancient Power. Now I have a lot of time to farm energy. I'm at max 100 energy, and I'm just going to start throwing all my charge moves. They have a shield right here, but I have another Rock Slide ready. They don't shield, and it's going to be a Giratina Origin. So it's actually kind of tough. Giratina Origin not nearly as bulky as Altered, but it hits very hard. And then the Shadow Balls are very scary to worry about. Whereas Giratina Altered, you really just have to worry about Shadow Sneak or maybe a Dragon Claw bait. Neither are going to hit that hard. So my opponent does actually go straight for Ominous Wind, and I had to call the bait because I was like, that's my really only win condition is calling the bait right there. And then at this point, I decided to let the Melmetal go, and then I'm going to just go straight fast moves. Again, taking super effective Shadow Claw damage on Lugia, and it still outpaces the Giratina Origin right there. Just because that Dragon Tail damage is actually super effective, and even though without stab, it's still very solid against the dragons. So, unfortunate there. I don't know if my game lagged or something. I should have been able to get to the Iron Head before they threw the second superpower because I should win CMP, but things like that happen, right? So in those situations, what do? So Melmetal lead is probably one of the toughest leads for this line, but I will say I've beaten Melmetal leads probably more than I've lost to them. That just goes to show how strong Lugia can be and how strong the backline can be. So even after not being able to chip away at the Melmetal or force a shield there with my Lugia, with my Dialga, I still am able to kind of come back from this matchup in a bit. So I know that the Dialga is debuffed, so the Draco Meteor is not going to hit nearly as hard. I'm going to go straight for this Hydro Pump. Let's see if I land it. I do. So that actually puts me in a good spot. And then I go for the Sky Attack, and this might be able to force a shield from my opponent, which is always good. And then I quickly go for the Rock Slide right here, able to win CMP, or maybe they didn't have a charge move ready. I think maybe they just lost CMP there. Let me see. I think theirs might have not been best ready. I'm not sure. I can really see from the screen right now. But they come in with Dialga. I just throw Rock Slides right here. I'll be in a good spot. And then Dragonite, I just need 2 Rock Slides to take it out. Dragonite against this line is very weak to it. I would say Dragonite's probably the easiest Pokemon to deal with in this line because all 3 can counter Dragonite in some way or form. So essentially you have a kind of an easier like 3 versus 2 situation. So anytime you see a Dragonite, either in the back, in the front, in the middle, you're going to have a chance to kind of come back. So yeah, so this time I do get the Iron Head off, but my opponent actually smartly decides not to shield. So in that situation, I'm not going to shield. There's no point at this point. I'm going to bring in my Melmetal, and they bring in their Giratina. Very smart play. Preserve the energy on their Melmetal, and they know they're debuffed, so they don't want to stay in there. And that's swapped to my Lugia. Obviously, Lugia, I really want to avoid that Melmetal matchup. It'll be even better with Aeroblast. The Aeroblast actually has a chance to beat Melmetal by just in the 1-0 shield. I think it might be able to with Hydro Pump at the moment. I'm not too sure, but it's usually a very uncomfortable matchup. My opponent does slam the Shadow Ball, does a decent amount of damage, but I do want to save at least 1 shield because I know they have Melmetal in the back and a third Pokemon I haven't even seen yet. So let's see what they come in with. They come in with their Melmetal, so I have to shield this because it's going to be a superpower because they still have the chance to switch out. And here comes Dragonite. So Dragonite, again, kind of a liability against this specific team just because it is weak to all 3 Pokemon. So I'm going to charge up to 2 Rock Slides again, throw it against the Dragonite. I know that this 1 superpower is going to hurt quite a bit, but now I'm going to have 2 and just barely survive it. Again, you want to have as close to 100% IVs as possible in Master League because these situations really can flip if you don't have a good enough IV. And able to take out their Melmetal right there. All right. Again, another Melmetal lead. And in this situation, they have me in a really good spot. So they throw their superpower right here, and then I don't know. I might have been slow to the swap where I lagged a little bit, because usually I should be able to get to at least an Iron Head. So that's why I shielded there, because I have a bunch of energy. I probably could have just let it go as well. In fact, that might have been a better play. But I'm gonna come with Lugia right here, just try to farm up as much as I can. Melmetal is usually better, and I think that's why I swapped in the Melmetal right here. I just didn't want to worry about Flamethrower, so I want to absorb that damage with Lugia, and here comes Giratina Altered. Unfortunately, in this situation, they pretty much have me countered throughout, and it's one of those situations where there's only so many ways you can play it to perfection. And so, yeah, in this, I kind of realized that, especially with the a shield deficit on my end, this is probably not going to go so well. And I was trying to sack my Lugia. Unfortunately, I can't do that. And then bring in my Lugia right here. And I need to go for a bait, so that's why I go for a Sky Attack. Let's see if my opponent goes for the bait or not. They do. So that's actually a slight sliver of hope right there. But the unfortunate part is my Melmetal is kind of low on health at this point. So Hydro Pump is going to do a decent amount of damage if it lands. They shield it again. Yeah, they kind of realized at this point they could just farm me down. Really good play by my opponent right here. And I'm just going to let this go, because I know they have 2 superpowers, and there's no way I get to one in time. So yeah, so I mean, it's not, it's not like you beat every Melmetal lead, but I would say Melmetal leads actually have quite a bit of play. Because they usually have counters for Groudon on the back end. Usually Lugia has quite a bit of play against those. Alright. Giratina Origin. So I tried playing this matchup a couple different times. What I found is that usually they go straight for Shadow Ball and don't shield, and then depending on what they do next is what I do. So if they shield the second Sky Attack and try to farm me down with Shadow Claws, instead of throwing the Ominous Wind right away, I bring in Dialga right away. I'm at a shield advantage right here, so I am going to throw this Draco Meteor and see what it does. So let's take out their Melmetal, because I kind of figured that we're not going to spend their second shield right away. Yeah, and then they bring in their own Dialga. This is good because now I have switch advantage, and this Melmetal can just farm a decent amount of energy. I'm going to shield to this because if it's a Thunder or Draco Meteor, it's going to hurt quite a bit even without having debuffs on my side. I know now that their Giratina is pretty low on the back end, so I swap in my Lugia to kind of clear my debuffs right here, and then I kind of have to worry about Shadow Ball. I'm just going to shield, and it ends up being a Shadow Ball, so that works out pretty well, and I have 2 Rock Slides ready. So here's the thing. Against Giratina Origin, if they throw Shadow Ball first, and you throw Sky Attack, they will outpace you to the Ominous Wind and CMP tie you on when you hit the Sky Attack. If they try to farm you extra, you could throw the second Sky Attack. Either way, you don't shield the Lugia, in my opinion. Now, again, so we're not just talking about shielding. So here's another way you could play it. If they get to the move right when you get to Sky Attack, in most scenarios, it is a Shadow Ball. Because Shadow Ball they get to Shadow Ball right when you get to Sky Attack, it's kind of hard to time a bait like that, because they have to be pressing Ominous Wind when the Shadow Ball energy is ready versus hitting Shadow Ball when the Shadow Ball energy is ready, right? If that makes any sense. So it's very hard to time it exactly to when it CMPs if they're trying to go for the bait, in my opinion. So you could potentially shield. So that's kind of what I did right there. I did shield. They didn't want to spend their second shield against Togekiss, and if they don't, Dialga does win that matchup. So it is going to be Dialga right here, and in this scenario, I'm in a pretty good spot. I'm going to shield the Draco Meteor just because it's going to do more damage than a Shadow Ball probably would. And I'm going to throw the superpower. I have 2 ready just in case I need to throw it. They come in with their Giratina. I probably could swap out here, but it doesn't really matter. At this point, the Rock Slide would do just as much, or it would still be enough even if I didn't have the debuffs. So I take out the Giratina right there. So that's one way to play it. But generally speaking, I don't shield that first Shadow Ball. Especially if you call it wrong, it's a bad spot, right? So right here, you can see I got the Sky Attack before they do the Shadow Ball. There's a good chance they're baiting right here with Ominous Wind. So I'm going to let it go. And okay, so they end up overcharging, and that's fine. And it's going to be a Shadow Ball right here. But they don't throw the Ominous Wind again. This means that they're trying to farm me down. If they let that Sky Attack go, what I always do is I try to snipe them with my Dialga. And it works almost every time. Because they're so low on health after that second Sky Attack, you should be able to get a Dragon Breath before they have time to react and throw Ominous Wind or Shadow Ball. Even if they try to throw a move, they usually won't have enough energy for Shadow Ball. So that's kind of how I played out this match. So, but as you can see, my opponent actually plays this really well. So they burned both my shields with Mewtwo. I probably should have saved one. I'm thinking, what can be so bad in the back end? Oh yeah, this is bad for sure. This is bad. And then I swap into my Lugia, which is not great, to be honest. I really need to land, I really need to land a Draco Meteor. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough for Draco Meteor, so that was kind of a misplay by me. And then now they're farming a bunch of energy with this Groudon. So what I should have done is saved one shield from the Mewtwo, because that second Side Strike wouldn't have taken me out. And then, yeah, come in with, and have a shield for the Groudon. So Groudon on the back end is not impossible to deal with, but if you have no shields, yeah, it's pretty rough. So really well played by my opponent, but I just want to showcase that scenario in terms of how to snipe down a Giratina Origin that doesn't shield the second Sky Attack and tries to farm you still. Alright, so Giratina altered a little bit easier to manage than Giratina Origin, just because it doesn't have a hard hitting move like Shadow Ball, and it's a lot more bulk weighted, so it just doesn't hit as hard. Surprisingly, Lugia actually wins this in the one shield, if you can believe that, even though it's taking super effective damage. My opponent actually shields right there. What I do is I just let the Lugia go. There's really no need for me to shield one shield, like, it's fine. I have my own Dialga to farm down. Dialga with energy and a shield advantage does really well against almost everything in Master League meta. And so it comes in, they come in with Togekiss, and this is not much of a better scenario for them, to be honest, so I'm happy to see it. Backline is very weak to Melmetal in both fronts, and I have a shield advantage and energy on my Dialga, so it's very good. I'm going to shield this because there's no way the Togekiss gets to 3 charge moves anyway, so I'm going to just charge up extra energy just so that I have a little bit of health, a little bit of energy going into this Togekiss matchup. And then I'm going to shield, throw my Rock Slide and throw Iron Head. Iron Head will KO at this range, and yeah, that's GG's. Alright, like I said, Dragonite against this line doesn't have a lot of play. Dragonite in the lead is probably the best case scenario for my opponents right there. This looked a little too fast for Earthquake, so I just let it go, obviously. And then because of that, I'm just going to go straight Draco Meteor. If they don't shield, great. If they do shield, at least I burn the shield. Because usually I throw the Iron Head if I count up to an Earthquake. But I knew that they were going straight for the bait right there, so there's no need for me to bait. Because I could potentially flip the matchup or definitely draw a shield. So this is one of those situations where you can farm up Groudon quite a bit. These Sky Attacks are going to hurt against Dragonite. So I just want to farm with this energy. The Mud Shots do pretty much nothing. Fire Punch does a little bit. But as you can see here, I'm pretty much at 100 energy, and it's going to hurt this Dragonite quite a bit. So I throw the first Sky Attack, just because I want to make sure I have time to farm up whatever comes out next with my Lugia if possible. And then I bring in the Melmetal. What I should have done right there is farmed up a little extra. I should have, because this Groudon is still alive, and these Thunder Shocks are not doing anything to Groudon. And then we CMP tie here too, which is unfortunate, but well played by my opponent. Alright, so they come with Mewtwo. This is pretty much over. I have Lugia with energy in the back. I have, yeah, and I'm going to throw this energy. They have to pretty much throw a Side Strike eventually, because there's no way they farm me down with Cycle Cuts. And I'm just going to let this go. Now I have a shield advantage against a Mewtwo with Melmetal. It's a very good spot to be in. They're probably going to bait me with a Side Strike right here, but I do shield in case it's a Focus Blast, and it is. So again, you want to shield right there, especially when you have a shield advantage and you have fast energy generating Pokemon like Melmetal. Alright, Landorous. Not as easy as other ground leads like Groudon, just because the Rock Slide is doing super bad damage. I'm going to shield the first Rock Slide. From here, you probably don't need to shield the first Rock Slide, to be honest. I just did, just because I think this is the first time I played against the Landorous, so I wasn't too sure about the matchup. But I guess, yeah, if you have a shield advantage, you actually do win. And let's see if I can win the one shield here. So again, the Mud Shots do pretty much nothing, and Lugia does win the one shield against Landorous, which is pretty solid. And now they come with Dialga. They have a decent amount of energy on me, not great, but they throw first, so I'm going to let this go. Even if it's Draco Meteor, I'm still going to resist quite a bit of it. I want to shield just in case it's like Groudon on the back. Ends up being Mewtwo. Yeah, very unlikely it would be a Groudon in the back because they have a ground Pokemon in the lead, right? Those are very weird team compositions that you probably won't ever see. So I knew I had a good spot. I was in a good spot with this backline. And then, yeah, in this scenario, I'm just going to throw the Iron Head and then probably shield my... That was weird. Why did I not swipe all the bubbles? No, I don't even know what I was thinking there. Maybe I thought they were definitely going to shield or something. I don't know. That was kind of a weird play by me. I think I wouldn't be in the spot I'm in if I swiped all the bubbles. But either way, still in an advantageous spot. Alright, Snorlax. Snorlax is kind of an interesting lead to see. I don't really see too much Snorlax in Master League Open in general these days, but especially in the lead, you don't really see it too often. You see it in safe swaps more often than not. But what I'm going to do right here is soften it up with Lugia and then come in with Dialga. It's very hard to Dragon Breath a Snorlax from full health with Dialga, but after taking it down with a Sky Tag, it's pretty good. And then my opponent actually goes for Superpower. I do shield because I know they get Superpower and swap out, so I didn't really want to get hit by Superpower right off the bat. And then this is probably going to be an Iron Head, yep. And then so I should be able to survive that and get to my own, my second Iron Head. And let's see if it forces a shield or not. It doesn't. This is actually pretty good because now I can farm up a bunch of energy with Melmetal. Dialga resisting electric damage is actually a very good thing for Melmetal farm downs when you have the opposing Dialga is very low. Alright, they come with Giratina. Not good. Obviously, Giratina is a counter to Melmetal. But the thing is, at this health range, Giratina needs to land a Shadow Ball, so you really need to call an Ominous Wind bait, or if they're going straight Shadow Ball. They obviously have enough energy for Shadow Ball right here, so I do shield. It ends up being Shadow Ball, so that works out pretty well. A lot of Giratinas tend to go Shadow Ball here too, just because if they miss bait, then it's a very bad spot for them to be in. So I come with Lugia trying to take out this Giratina. And then we're going to throw the Sky Attack. I have almost another Sky Attack ready, so let's see if we get to it. And it does, and I do, which is really good. Again, Lugia just, even though taking super effective damage from Shadow Licks from Snorlax, it's very bulky, and it doesn't care too much about those things. Alright, so Mewtwo lead. Usually a very good spot if they're running Side Strike and Focus Blast, but what I've noticed is that there's been a decent amount of Mewtwo's running Shadow Ball this time around, especially in the lead. So something definitely to watch out for. But in this scenario, what happens is Melmetal ends up being a better matchup against Mewtwo because Shadow Ball can't one-shot it, so you could tank any charge move from Mewtwo. And then, unless you're running Focus Blast and Shadow Ball, which is kind of unlikely. So, my opponent actually goes for a Rock Slide bait, and goes for 2 Rock Slides bait, actually, which is, yeah, I don't know, very interesting. And then because of that, they, yeah, I'm just going to call their bait again. This might be Superpower. That's fine. I'm going to come in with my own Melmetal. And then they're already debuffed, so I'm not too worried about the Superpower. And I'm just going to farm a bunch of extra energy. I'll tank the second one. That's fine. The Side Strikes are not going to do enough, so I don't mind just tanking some extra damage. I do have 2 Superpowers right here, so it'll be pretty good. And then here comes Groudon. So Groudon, unfortunate that they have switch advantage, and I only have my Lugia low on health. But what we're going to do is I'm going to shield these charge moves from Mewtwo. Side Strike is obviously not going to be great, even though they're resisted, because it's going to do more damage than the Fire Punches from Groudon. So at this point, I'm going to just throw Sky Attacks, spam my way at this Groudon. At this range, the Fire Punches are definitely a slight threat. So I'm going to shield it, even though usually I wouldn't shield that. At this point, I think I probably should just go straight Hydro Pump, but I think I got a little scared, so I just went straight Sky Attack, just in case I lost track of energy. And then here, I go straight for Superpower and take out the Groudon. So either they try to farm me down, or they get taken out, or they have to throw their energy. Either way, all 3 scenarios are good for my Melmetal and Lugia. Alright, Mamoswine lead. Very uncommon in Master League at the moment. Maybe you'll see more of it if Lugia with Aeroblast becomes more common. But it's actually not great for Lugia just because it gets to those avalanches very quickly, and it's quite attack weighted, so even Lugia does not do great tanking avalanches. Avalanche is also one of the best, most efficient moves in the game, so definitely something scary to face. Alright, so unfortunately we CMP there. Yeah, very unfortunate. Luckily it's just an Iron Head. So I'm going to just throw these Sky Attacks just because I don't really want to get hit by too much Dragon Breath afterward. And then from here, I expect Mamoswine to come back out. And here comes Giratina Origin, not great. So I'm gonna have to call bait here, and it ends up being Shadow Ball. Very bad for me, just because it does quite a bit of damage, and then I'm probably gonna have to force myself to shield the Omnuswind next, which I do not want to do, but it's kind of the reality of the situation at this moment. Luckily I get to another Rock Slide, so let's see if I can force a shield out from my opponent. I don't force a shield out, so I'm going to go straight Superpower right here. See if I can force a shield here. Still no shield. Very interesting. I think they were just planning on farming me down with Mamoswine. I'm going to go straight for a Sky Attack, even though I'm baiting a Hydro Pump, just because I need a shield. And that ends up working out, but they get to their charge move right here. So my Melmetal has a sliver of health left. What can it do with it? Oh man. Clutching it out. Just getting in time for a Superpower right there. To finish off the Mamoswine. So very tough matchup. I've gone against two. I think I lost one, and that was the one I won. Metagross lead, also very uncommon to be honest. But the thing is, I've gone against two of these so far in the lead, and I've won both of them. It actually is not as bad of a counter as say a Melmetal, just because Metagross takes a lot longer to get to these charge moves, and landing a Hydro Pump is pretty nice against it too. Again, once Aeroblast comes out, Aeroblast actually does more damage than Hydro Pump here, so even though it's resisted, it's really only moves that are double resisted, flying attacks, that it's worse against, like against like a Magnezone. Alright, so my opponent actually swaps out to Palkia right here. I'm going to just tank the move because I know it's not going to be a Draco Meteor, and then this doesn't look great, so I'm going to shield just because even Meteor Mash will do quite a bit. But they go for a double Meteor Mash, which is a smart play by them. I thought about going for Draco Meteor, but I just could not make it, so I ended up going for Iron Head right here. And then they switch lock their Dialga right here. So this is actually pretty good for me because I'm going to farm up all this energy. Sorry for the noise in the background, my cats are playing with the curtains. Luckily I was able to get to both Superpowers before they get to a move. And then I'm going to swap to my Lugia right here, clear the debuffs, and then go straight for the Superpower. This is a little bit scary, but I kind of figured they can't have enough energy for Earthquake, and then I'm going to throw the Superpower. I don't know if there's a glitch in the back. You see that Premier Ball in the back? Oh, it's super weird. But alright, Palkia. Palkia lead. Another one of those Pokemon similar to Dragonite. It's not great against this line. In fact, all three Pokemon have play against it. Sky Attacks hurt Palkia quite a bit, and these Aqua Tails just aren't doing enough. If it lands a Draco Meteor, it's a different story, but there's no way it could have been Draco Meteor that quickly. So they shield, and they bring in Rhyperior. This is actually very bad. Rhyperior is much scarier than Groudon because Rhyperior can threaten Lugia with Rock Wreckers, unlike Groudon where all that energy is kind of wasted. So I do have to shield this first one, and it's going to be a Rock Wrecker. Not a great spot to be in. I shield the second one because, again, I don't really want this Melmetal matchup against the Rhyperior, so I really need to just take it out in any means possible. Alright, so they bring in their Palkia, which I realized they switch locked it. I think they just didn't want to get farmed by Lugia, which gives me an opportunity to farm up a bunch of energy off of this Palkia. Yeah, so I farm up almost pretty much the 2 Rock Slides. And yeah, let's see what my opponent comes in next. They're down shields, and then it's gonna be a Mewtwo. So the scary thing here is if they're running Focus Blast, or even Shadow Ball actually is enough to take out this Melmetal. So I just need to whittle it down as much as possible, and then try to take it out, finish it off with my Lugia. And so they actually go Side Strike, which maybe because they're anticipating the Lugia still being around, they need the energy. It's actually kind of a smart play, but Lugia takes the Side Strike, and then Melmetal still has energy and throw it out. Rhyperior lead, a little bit easier to deal with. Obviously you still have to watch out for those Rock Wreckers, but the Mud Slaps are not doing that much damage. And anytime you can lock in a ground Pokemon with Lugia, you're setting yourself up for success because Dialga and Melmetal and back are both weak to these ground Pokemon, and usually they don't have another counter. If they have like a, I don't know, like a Conkeldurr in the back or something, like there's, I mean, GG's then, right? You can't really do too much, but that's usually a really weird line. My opponent lets the Sky Attack go, but shields a Hydro Pump. Very great calls by them. At this point, I'm just going to do what I can to just double shield. I kind of made a misplay. I probably should just thrown the Sky Attack, but I don't know if the Sky Attack would have been enough anyway. Yeah, it's not enough, so it wouldn't have mattered too much. I come with Melmetal. The Rhyperior at least doesn't have much energy left, and I do have this positive matchup. So let's kind of see how it plays out right here. They go straight for the Thunder. What I should have done is farmed up a little bit more energy, because then I have enough for a move for the Rhyperior when it comes back in. Ends up being a Mewtwo instead though, so it's not too bad. I probably, if I was the opponent, probably come in with Rhyperior. Oh wow, yeah, I don't know what that was, like some lag or something, but I think they're trying to catch a move and I was trying to catch a move at the same time. But it ends up working out pretty well. And again, against Lugia, you really can't farm a Mewtwo, even at this low health, just because it just, yeah, they just hit so hard. And I'm coming with Dialga right here, and then I'm going to get hit by Focus Blast. It's fine, I'm getting one shot, expend all the energy from Mewtwo, and then come in with Melmetal. I guess I could, yeah, the scary thing right there is if I went in with Melmetal, they could farm me down instead. So you need to absorb all that energy with Dialga first. So that's the Lugia line that I've been using in Open Master League. Of course, this is before Aeroblast is released, so if anything, this line's going to be even better. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like and share. Subscribe for future content. Hit that notification bell to be notified right when I drop a new video. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.